All right, so today we're doing a little bonus mini session. I've got Adunbi here, and we're going to fill in what happened with Adunbi. Well, he was off away from the group on Mount Ghakis. Well, uh, they worked
Sorry.
their way up to the Amber Temple. Uh, so the group had bedded down for a long rest at the front of the Solenka Bridge, with the dark figure staring at them in their tiny hut. And during that evening, Adunbi, as you're sleeping, you find yourself in your unconscious state, rising from your body and having this sort of out of body experience where you look and you see your compatriots sleeping around you, and you see your body on your pelt asleep, and the snow falling and this figure staring at you across the bridge, and you hear the crack of a branch, and above you on this rocky outcropping you see the large muscled figure of what appears to be a burly woman with the head of a skulled stag, large antlers coming out from her head and branching off into various points, and this skull covering most of her face, but you can see long, kind of tangled leafy hair with various leaves of very like fall colors kind of interwoven into the strands, and one shoulder seems to be covered with a thick fur pelt, while the other seems to be almost a curtain of moss and vines. And she is standing in front of this large tree, um, which has grown larger because you recently cast your wild growth and kind of got vines all over this cliffside. But she goes and she sits at the base of the tree and stares at you. And then you watch as her figure fades into the trunk of the tree, almost seems to be almost seems like a wisp of the wind, just kind of fading out, and then the bark of the tree encapsulating her form and enveloping it into the tree before you're sucked back into your body, and you wake up with the rest of the group as they're rousing from their sleep. It's suddenly morning. Seems instantaneous.
So right now I'm awake with the.
Yes, you're waking up with everyone else. They're kind of rousing. They're discussing what they're going to do to cross the bridge. And you look up and you see that that tree is still there, but there is no figure. It appears to be just a lonely tree on this rocky outcropping. But there's, it seems like the figure was trying to tell you something.
I think Adunbi would probably be like one track mind focused, and it's not even really paying attention to like what people are saying or in the background, and just be like walking towards the tree and like just focused on what's going on there.
I'm gonna do my best Sten impression. Um, Adunbi, where are you going?
Uh, um, I'm sorry, Stan. Uh, I just have something to take care of very quickly. I'll be back soon. Don't worry.
But and as you walk away, he kind of stammers, but knows that he does not necessarily have the capability to stop you in this situation, as he's dealt with your stubbornness before. So you climb up the hillside, and as you come onto this rocky outcropping, the tree is in front of you, and it has a decent view of the gorge and this bridge. And you see the party down below kind of packing up camp, and Tiny Hut has collapsed at this point. They're brushing the snow off, and are beginning to kind of approach the bridge.
So the group was trying to beginning to approach the bridge?
Yes, the group is kind of beginning to. You can see that there's a slight discussion of like, what the hell's up with that, and just kind of some shrugs and, well, we better get going, and they start heading towards the bridge.
Whoa, what was that?
What was what?
Did you not hear that?
Oh, the sound effect?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes the ambient noises get wild.
I was like, I thought I was going crazy for a second. I was like, am I in a horror movie?
I mean, it's Barovia.
No, I thought I was on like a scary movie for a second, where like I'm starting to hear things and everyone around me is like, what's going on? I guess how close did I make it to the tree?
It's about like 10 feet in front of you. Like
10 feet
you're standing across from it at this point.
Do I start to notice anything now that I've gotten closer?
Right now, it just appears to be an oak tree. It's fairly thick, probably due to your casting and the nature magic that you infused the night before. But
I would walk up and just like put my palm against it.
You feel, as you put your hand against the bark, the dry, cold, frigid bark of this. It's basically a pine tree. It's one of the evergreens. The bark is soft beneath your hands. It you feel that kind of crunch of frost and the chill beneath your fingertips, and ever so slightly you just feel this almost flowing sensation, this not quite a beat as much as a flow of energy in this tree. Not necessarily rhythmic, more smooth.
When I look up, is there seem to be anything like in the leaves or up to, like, or just up the tree in general?
The needles are thick and crisscrossed, and as you look up, the sun, Barovian sun, the light kind of peeks through as the wind tousles the needles, but the sky is gray, and so the light is fairly diffused. It's not like you're getting direct rays of any kind.
I'll try climbing towards, at least further up the tree.
Right.
If it's easy to climb.
You climb into the tree. Admittedly, as you get a little into it, the branches are so thick, and the needles are the branches overlap, and the needles, it's such a solid coverage that it's difficult to maneuver. You're not able to make it too far up the tree without basically fighting against branches. But you can, if you actually are determined to make it in, it's definitely, you're capable of kind of maneuvering. It's just very slow going.
Gotcha. If there's is the Barovian sun warm at all?
Generally, no. I like to think of, actually, similar to today's weather in Los Angeles. How it was completely cloud covered in gray, but you've just kind of got that diffused light. That's Barovia plus thick fog and mist constantly.
Well, if I can, I'll try to make it towards the top, because if there's I don't know if it's a particularly different day or if it's the same every day in Barovia. I don't know if it's a little bit warmer or a little bit lighter at
Mhm.
all.
It's very
But,
frigid where you guys are, just because you're so far up the mountain that you're basically in
Yeah.
what's tundra territory. So it's very snowy. The branches are covered in frost.
Yeah.
The wind is biting. As far as the sky, the sky's that thick gray roiling clouds, and there's these harsh cutting winds that seem to almost tear through. If it weren't for the fact that you were wearing the furs that have been provided to you by the Vistani,
Yeah.
you would be suffering from extreme cold. You are barely comfortable even in your thick pelt, and as you climb this tree, and it kind of like you can feel the needles press against you, and you're shoving branches out of the way and trying to work your way up, that chill is even more present.
Yeah. I guess I'll just try to like muscle my way through to the top,
Right.
see what the view's like.
You are able to work your way up, and as you kind of reach the top, you've really had to kind of muscle your way and squeeze around branches. It's been by the time you make it to the top, your fur is completely coated in loose needles, and frost has basically clumped itself into various parts of your clothing, as well as your hair. But you're able to peek out towards the top, and at this point, you've gotten high enough that the wind is blowing and actually swaying the tree slightly, and the kind of flurries of snow that are blowing along in the wind, you're only able to kind of catch glimpses of the bridge below, as some of the fog and these flurries seemingly obscure part of your vision. The group at this point is reaching the front of the bridge and kind of debating what to do about the figure on it. But you look around and you can see that there's this deep, deep gorge that runs under the bridge, over 500 feet deep. And you can kind of see the winding path back to the gate behind you, with the tower that you guys just left. And then beyond the gorge, the path winds into what appears to be almost a canyon-like cut of the mountain.
You said the gorge follows into like a canyon like cut to the mountain.
The gorge
where the
runs
group is going?
under the bridge, across the
gotcha.
bridge. You can, and admittedly, it's like you're seeing it in glimpses, right, between the kind of wind and these flurries of this mist. But you can see that the path on the other end of the bridge kind of winds up into what appears to be a bit of a canyon cut path between larger aspects of the mountain on either side.
Gotcha. Does the tree feel just as much alive? Like when I put my hand towards the bark near the top, or
as you get towards the top of the tree, you're starting to get into less bark and more branch territory. So
Gotcha.
This high up, you've got kind of the top branches of the tree, but you don't really have as much as like the actual trunk.
Gotcha. Do I feel anything that is I guess any like presence or anything like that pulls me towards, because initially Adunbi remembers like the dream and everything, and like being pulled towards this location, and now he's trying to figure out what it means.
Roll me an insight check
if
you have anything.
7 plus 5 plus 5, so that would be 16.
All right. So as you think on this dream, and you kind of what? Just the noises?
You don't hear it.
I don't think I hear that one. Oh, is it that like kind of dung?
No, it goes. Twang!
Oh,
just
okay.
out of nowhere. It's like it's like I'm in a vampire movie and it's like nothing's happening, and then you turn and you see like the vampires there and like just like jump scaring you, and it does like the at the same time, and it's like it
That's
comes
so
out of
funny.
nowhere. It's just like crickets and like nice smooth sounds, and then
Yep.
all of a sudden,
So,
sorry.
no worries. So as you think back on the dream, you think back to this figure in this tree, and hold on, I'm gonna sneeze.
Bless you.
Thank you. In the dream, the figure was looking down on you and then sat at the base of the tree, and was seemed to be enveloped by its bark.
Okay. Well, I think from here, Adunbi will take a moment at the top of the tree
Mm-hmm.
and kind of just take like just a moment to himself and a deep breath and trying to enjoy the little bit of sunlight,
Mm-hmm.
like unfettered like sunlight, as close up high as he can possibly be for a while, because don't really get much of that in Barovia.
That's fair.
And after a little while, he'll I want to say he'll choose an owl,
Okay.
and he'll wild shape into an owl and just slowly descend like lazily down towards the ground and the base of the tree,
All right.
before shifting back and taking a seat and just putting his back towards the seat, towards the tree, and closing his eyes.
All right. So you take a deep breath of this crisp, almost alpine air, and you can feel that kind of freshness of that high mountain air invigorate you a little bit. You wild shape into an owl and kind of lazily drift in a circle around the tree to its base before bringing yourself back and sitting cross-legged, put out both your arms and close your eyes and enter into a meditative state. And as you take one more deep breath of that alpine air, the last thing that you hear is this loud screech of what appears to be a large bird that kind of fades into the distance as you feel as if you're falling backwards for a moment into the tree itself. You open your eyes and suddenly visions start flashing in front of your eyes. You see a group of undead warriors marching up a grassy hill filled with stones towards you, and then your vision fades and almost whiplashes with another image of this dark red blistered tree, and then you zoom underneath said tree into what appears to be a cavern, and through the cavern into pitch dark blackness where you hear howling and a woman's scream, and the darkness seems to be swirling past you at high speed until you come to what appears to be a chamber filled with vines. The walls, the floor, the ceiling, everything just seems to be these dark, almost interwoven and almost ivory colored, bone dry vines. And the only two features of the room is in the center of the room, all of the vines converge down into a deep, dark pit. And across the pit from you, you see what appears to be a statue made of woven wood and strange crystals that seem to be almost glowing, almost like the Wicker Man that you saw at Yesterhill, but to a smaller degree. And the vines are so interwoven that the wood almost seems solid. And there's this kind of breathing glow about various parts of the statue, which is crowned by a large antlered deer skull, before your vision zooms down the hole and pops back up to a bright flash of light. And in front of you, You see a campfire and a small clearing, and you smell wood smoke and the kind of mossy, damp air of the deep forest. And across the fire from you is sitting this large, burly figure with an antlered skull in front of a tree bearing a large skeleton of a beast bound to the tree. And you recognize this is the same tree you encountered about a week ago. It's a little more than a week. Where you found your staff, which is sitting next to you and putting off cinders in the same way of the campfire. And the figure looks up at you, and deep in the sockets of this skull, you see almost ember-like eyes glowing in the sockets of the skull.
You have done well, Adunbi. I am proud of the progress you have made.
What progress are you talking about?
You have restored a modicum of balance to the wilderness here. You have, ever so slightly, increased my hold on this land.
Who are you? I don't even truly understand who you are.
Child, I am the wild. I am the forest. I am the Huntress.
And if you're the Huntress, then... And I've been doing all these things for you, what do I get in return?
Child, that is up to you.
And she reaches out a hand. You can see the hand is muscled and covered in dirt. And she gestures lightly at the staff next to you.
I have granted you a gift, of which you have brought balance. You have seen what I can do for you. What comes next depends on you. How might I interest you in furthering our arrangement?
Depends on your offer.
Her head cocks slightly to the side.
What I can offer depends on what you want.
I want the power to carve my own destiny. Something raw and undeniable.
And what, perchance, led you to believe that you are not in charge of your destiny?
To be in charge of your own destiny means to be able to take and have what you want despite others. And I'm in no position to do that.
So you wish to overcome adversity with little effort? Is that what you seek?
I don't care if it requires effort. I just want the power to overcome it.
Interesting.
She rises. She rises. And you can see as she stands from her sitting position that as she rises to her full height, it just seems to keep going. She goes from sitting and appearing to be a large, muscled figure to rising to the point that as she stands, you're looking up at a over 8 foot tall figure, and not including the antlers. The antlers stretch above her visage. And she turns from you and she walks past the tree, away from you. Doesn't seem to wait, just walks into the forest.
Walks into the tree?
Not into
Sorry,
the
what?
tree, just past the tree into the forest.
I'll take it as a sign to follow.
As you stand and follow, as she walks, the tree branches almost seem to part for her antlers and her shoulders. They seem to literally bend out of her way. And she walks, and the forest seems to blur around you for a moment, and you find yourself standing above a hilled clearing. You're standing up towards the top, looking down on a rolling hill. And you see a small herd of deer grazing in the pasture. And she stops and stands staring at these deer. And as you come to stand beside her, you hear rustling in the branches, and to either side of you, a pack of wolves comes prowling out of the forest before charging into the clearing and setting upon this herd of deer. And you watch as most of the deer turn to flee, but 2 or 3 fall as the wolves beset upon them and begin jumping and grabbing at their neck and pulling them to the ground as the other wolves gnash at their legs and their torsos. And she walks into the clearing and stands within feet of these wild wolves, just decimating these deer carcasses, before turning to look at you.
Is this the power that you seek? To claim what you want?
The power to prey on the weak? That's what you're saying?
The noble deer is not weak. They have antlers to defend themselves. They are one of the largest creatures of the forest. They breed, they feed, they go where they please. But, and she gestures at the wolves beneath her. And she gestures at the wolves beneath her feet. The switching.
Yeah.
The wolves must feed. There must be balance.
If the wolf can choose, if the wolf has the power to choose which abominations are allowed to walk this earth, or able to choose which innocents need help to be saved. If the wolf has the power to do that, then yes. That's what I want.
she looks down at the wolves who are at this point finished or finishing the last of this carcass. And as you look into the opened belly of this this deer, you see what appears to be a vision in the center of the deer, and you see a bloodied Irina and Sten standing over her, along with a bloodied Alistair in what appears to be a torchlit chamber. And they all seem haggard. And you watch as they begin to cast a healing spell to breathe life back into Irina. The Huntress pulls a stray hair from the pelt of this deer and hands it to you as it begins to glow gold between her fingers.
What's this? What's the meaning of this?
She just proffers it.
I'll grab it.
As you grab it, the gold hair seems to incinerate between your fingertips, and sparks fly off of Sten and Alistair's hands as this healing magic occurs. And you watch as they kind of look around, and you hear Sten's distant voice kind of echoing. Adunbi, is that you? And you watch as the torches in the room seem to flicker a shade of gold before the vision fades. The wolves at this point have wandered off. You're left standing over this deer carcass. And she just kind of looks at you with her head tilted.
What is this power?
Consider it a gift for your service. But I must warn you. It is tempting, consuming. It requires a certain level of control.
I'm always in control.
You almost sense, you can't see beneath the skull, but you almost seem to sense the slightest smile as her head tilts.
Of course, I didn't mean to imply otherwise.
And at that point, she steps away from you again and passes through the rest of the clearing back towards the forest.
I'll follow after her, and as I'm following after her, I want to ask her, and I'll tell her that I'm also no fool. I know that's with everything comes a price. And what do you want in return? I know something like this is not free.
You have already begun to pay the price. You have eradicated those who blight this land. Not entirely, but a significant dent nonetheless. You have allowed me to manifest in a way I have not been able do in many moons. And true, my time may be limited, but should you choose to continue on this path, perhaps I shall reach a fraction of my former power.
And if I have questions, how will I contact you again?
She kind of chuckles under her breath.
I will always be with you in a sense, as long as you continue to wield this power, as long as.
And she kind of looks at the gnarled staff in your hand, which is crackling and sending off cinders.
As long as you continue to carry me with you. We are bound in a sense.
Adunbi just kind of like takes a moment, looks at his staff. Well, I will remember this. I don't say this often, but thank you. It's been a long time searching for even a fraction of what you've given me.
Do not thank me, child. It is I who should thank you. I was but a husk of my former self. It has been a long time since I found one who is willing to champion the forest. Let us hope you continue to prove worthy.
Well, it is not a hope. It is not a hope that can be proven through luck. Only through determined ambition.
Something seems to trouble you.
Trouble me. I mean, I'm stuck in Barovia with a vampire overlord who takes sick pleasure in toying with his with his captives. So outside of that, no, I'm doing fairly all right.
If you say so. But still something.
Something else? I mean,
She kind of just stands looming over you, her head slightly tilted, the antlers seeming to stretch into the branches themselves.
I mean, I'm not sure what you're getting at here, Huntress.
She turns away from you and continues to walk, and you once again see the trees almost seem to blur around you. And you find yourself now, as the trees blur, they seem to shift in shade to this frosty white, deep green evergreens coated in frost and snow. And you stand just at the top of the tree line of the mountains. And you are looking out over the vast expanse of Barovia, and you can see across the looming mountain of Mount Ghakis, which you were previously climbing. You can't see the specifics of the path from this distance, but you know that somewhere on that mountain your party is ascending, and supposedly your body sits. But from where you're standing, you seem to be on a cliff looking out over the valley itself, spread out beneath you, and you can see in the distance the tiered hill that is Yester Hill, the clearing in the trees that you know to be the Wizards of Wine Winery, even though you cannot see the structure from this distance. And you can see the winding road cutting through the tree line to kind of the grouping of what appears to be the wall of Kresk far off in the distance, the glinting lake that is Lake Zarovich, and the kind of walled city of Velaki, as well as off to the right you can see the large gate that is the western gate of Barovia, and the waterfalls that is Selenka Falls. And just at the edge of your sight, almost cut off by the mountains itself, you can see the kind of rising mountains that hold Castle Ravenloft and the small little tiny dotted structures of the village of Barovia at the base of the mountain, almost separated by the expansive elevation and the curving path. And she just kind of stares out over the land, literally.
Mm-hmm.
And stares in silence before...
I do not have a great deal of time left before I must regather my strength.
Since she doesn't have a great deal of time left before she must regather her strength, while looking at looking at the map of the land of Barovia.
Yeah, you're literally have you ever been on top of a mountain and kind of looked over? Have you ever hiked up somewhere high?
I've been on a plateau.
Okay.
I've been on Tabletop Mountain.
Yeah. So the ground is literally just kind of sprawling out in front of you, and you can see for miles. And admittedly, like, there's patches of fog kind of moving through, and there's like brief moments where different parts are obscured. It's definitely not a clear shot. But between the kind of shifting and roiling mists that kind of work their way through Barovia, you can see key landmarks and kind of the overall layout of the valley below your feet.
She asking me where I want to go.
She's just staring out in front of you. She just says she has very little time left.
Well, considering I may not see you again for a long time, Do you think this new power will be helpful in defeating Strahd?
Perhaps your capabilities are ones that I can grow, but what you do with them,
She turns towards you and you see those kind of glowing coal eyes in the skull.
you must choose your destiny.
What about you? What if this place gone? What happens to you?
I am bound to this place.
And she turns and looks over the vast expanse.
I suffer as it suffers.
And she kind of takes a deep breath and you can kind of see her whole form swell slightly.
But should you continue to bring balance to those who infringe upon this land, then perhaps I will be able to offer more to you, and perhaps we shall be seeing more of each other.
Do you ever think that Barovia just needs to start again? Just burn it all down?
It has been considered, but there are certain blights that cannot be burned away. They must be eliminated with precision, hunted to extinction. Otherwise, new growths are tainted by their presence, and the cycle repeats.
That I agree with you. And I can assure you, the weeds will be removed.
We shall see with time.
And she turns to face you once more, and as she does, the wind seems to swirl around her. And suddenly the white alpine slope melts away, and you find yourself once again in front of the tree with the large skeleton chained to it, and the fire's crackling at your feet. And she almost slumps down back to a sitting position.
Our time grows short. Are you sure there is nothing?
And she kind of tilts her head.
Like nothing that I want to ask?
You can almost see that although this figure seems... You can't really see most of her bodily features under the fur and moss that kind of surrounds her her body. But you can see at this point she is beginning to slump, and her there's almost like a slight haggard movement to her breathing. She seems to be growing weak.
Gotcha.
Despite which it is at odds with her solid frame.
Gotcha. The time grows near. I wish there was something that I could ask that I need, but if you've given me everything that I needed. Where can I? Do you know where I can go to find my allies?
I can guide you. But first,
And you see one of her hands, which at this point, as it reaches out, what was kind of a strong muscled hand is starting to become withered and bony.
Yeah.
But she seems to reach for the fire, towards the base of the fire, towards the embers.
She's like reaching for something or trying to show me
She
something.
she kind of reaches towards it, and almost like one finger seems outstretched. But she's almost like slightly leaning, but her movement is slow.
Can I get closer to the fire and can I guess reach into either look at what she's trying to point at, or if she's trying to reach into the fire?
Yeah, she seems to be kind of reaching like towards the embers and the base of the fire.
I guess I'll reach my hand out towards the fire.
She looks at you, and the embers in her eyes seem to flare slightly. And she kind of retracts her hand and nods.
When I reach towards the embers, what do I feel? I guess
Heat.
not burned though.
Well, how you're reaching towards them? How specific? Like, how deep are you reaching? As you reach towards the fire, you're feeling heat coming off the fire.
Yeah, but I guess I'll like go further into the fire.
All right. As your hand starts to go in, you do start to feel kind of a singeing, and you smell almost like the burning of hair.
But does it hurt?
A little.
Yeah.
She's just watching.
I don't understand.
as I said, this power consumes. You will burn brighter, but also faster.
Faster? What could you... You speak in riddles.
It is a prize.
Price.
For the power.
If it's the price for a power, then I'm willing to pay.
She just stares at you.
Then, what are you waiting for?
How large is the fire?
It's a pretty large campfire. It's probably 4 feet wide
Yeah.
circle.
I guess I'll like walk into the fire.
All right. So you step into the fire and you feel the heat on your feet start burning. And as you step into the fire, you look down and the flames climb up your legs and begin enveloping your body. You feel this singeing, burning heat, and you literally, you almost sense more than you
Christ.
hear this blood-curdling scream exit your lungs as pain, just blinding red, burning pain covers your entire body, and your vision goes red as these flames burn around you, and you feel literally the skin peeling off your bones and your hand melting into the staff in your hand.
It's pretty metal.
And you feel this burning, like everything peeling away from you, and you hear in your head,
I can change much, but the beast inside is a result of my doing that you must face on your own.
and at that point the pain overtakes you and your vision goes red and everything goes dark, and you suddenly, your eyes snap open and you are lying in the snow, freezing cold. But well, your skin is there. The staff is lying next to you. You are back underneath the pine tree. But something feels different. You feel a little more creaky than you remember.
Getting old.
Proportionately, yes.
I look. Is there like any? I don't think like you have like mirrors or anything, but I guess like I'll just like feel my look at my arms and feel my like arms and stuff and see how it feels. I feel sore.
You very much feel sore, and also there's this, you're really struggling, like your brain is going back and forth with the fact that like mentally you feel like you just burned to death, and like now your skin feels, you're there, your skin feels fine, but you're cold, and like there's this cognitive dissonance very much going on
like
of like
burning,
what
but you feel cold.
what just happened, like
freezer burn.
Almost that kind of like you're in a cold sweat, your breath is catching, almost like when you've woken up from a really intense dream and you're kind of in that like what's real state. That's where you're at. And as you kind of like look and observe your body parts, they all seem familiar, but there's something strangely alien about them. You've got like a couple red bumps in places you don't remember before.
It's like everything moves properly, but like just a little awkward.
Yeah, like almost like this, like almost like puberty. Like it's yours, but there's something odd about it. Like it doesn't feel quite right.
Yeah. And I'm just like in the snow.
You're literally lying, like face half like in the snow, a shoulder twerked at an angle, like your staff has kind of fallen a foot from you. Your
I'm gonna,
staff
like,
looks
get
the
up-
same.
I'm gonna like get up and use like my staff to like try to like support me up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just gonna try to like brush off snow from my face, and like, am I next to the tree right now?
Yes.
I'm gonna like lean against the tree, and like catch my breath for a second.
All right. So as you kind of climb
yeah.
up and you like, everything feels kind of off, a little bit sore, a little bit creaky. You lean against the tree and you kind of catch your breath. You go to wipe the snow and dirt off the side of your face, and you bring your hand back, and where you normally feel a pointed ear, suddenly there's just a gap, and instead you have a rounded ear.
And I think at that moment, Adunbi will be like, "What is going on?" And then he'll like run his hands like through his hair.
Mm-hmm.
Does his hair feel different?
It does.
The gods never explain anything until afterwards. I swear. I mean, I knew she's meant to sacrifice, but this is not what I expected. And like he'll just like look at his hands and like arms more closely,
Mm-hmm.
and like see like his fingernails are probably different, huh?
Mhm.
Like,
it's all subtle stuff. Like the feet, like your features are mostly the same, but slightly altered in weird ways. And like, you don't know what, like, you can't remember the last time that you had some sort of pimple. Like,
Yeah.
there's like odd bumps places, and is that a scab? Like,
he'll like he'll panic for like a little bit,
mm-hmm.
and then he'll take like a deep breath, close his eyes, lean his head back against the tree, and just like take like a minute to just like breathe
Mm-hmm.
slowly. And after he does that, he's just gonna stand up, brush off like the bottom of his robes, snow and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and take another deep breath and just like haggardly hike through the snow in the direction of the camp
All right.
and the bridge.
As you come towards the end of the little outcropping, you're starting to get like, it doesn't take too long for you to kind of get a little bit of a feel for, okay, like it's different, but it's almost like if you've been at sea for a while and you come back onto land, like, okay, I know how to do this. It's just a little weird right now. But you come to the end of the rocky outcropping, and there is no sign of your group. But what you do notice is on the other end of the bridge, where there were two kind of towers on either side of both sides of the bridge, kind of like at the entrance to the bridge itself. On the far end of the bridge, the right tower has partially collapsed. The top has been torn away by something. And the bridge is completely abandoned.
There's so much going on. Oh gosh. I'm gonna have to figure out what's going on later, but right now I need to find where everyone is and what's going on before they get themselves killed. And he's just gonna like walk across the bridge and mutter, while all the while muttering to himself, I believe this is happening.
As you climb down, you notice that most of your growth has withered away, which, coupled with the tower and the fact that the lighting seems different, you've been wherever you've been for a while.
Oh,
And as you cross the bridge and reach the canyon, you kind of look and you see some footprints in the snow. And further down the path, you see a deer that seems to pause and look back at you before dashing up the path.
it just stopped and looked at me.
Yep. You kind of come across the bridge into the canyon, and this deer kind of prances onto the path and then stops and looks at you. And then turns and bounds up the path.
Same way that I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, company's never too bad. I'll just follow them up the path.
And then that's basically where we'll leave off. You follow the path. And these flitting images of the deer up until you come to what appears to be... Oh, well, I should mention, along the way, you find a couple odd landmarks, including what appears to be a giant massacred undead bear on the side of the path, as well as, at a certain point, a very disturbed kind of snowy clearing with a number of bloodstains and what appears to be broken bits of horn, and then a large chunk of snow with various bits of blood splatter that have slid off the side of the cliff.
I never really thought about this, but D&D parties never clean up after themselves.
Never.
They just leave bodies littered through the lands.
Yep. Well, actually, between you and me, because you weren't there, the reason the second corpse got thrown off the cliff edge, which is why there's just a bunch of chunk of snow missing.
Oh my god.
The pelt's been taken and a horn's been taken, but the body was thrown off the side. So there are various landmarks you encounter along the way. But the deer kind of continues to lead you on. And it's a while. You travel throughout the night into the next morning. And at a certain point, you come to a curve towards the top of the mountain. The trees have long since gone, and the air has gotten bitterly, bitterly cold and brisk. But you come around a corner to what appears to be the visage of a large building set into the side of the mountain with huge double doors surrounded by large hooded statues, and then off to the left is a kind of crack in the ice that almost seems to form a cave.
He's gonna happily limp himself all the way over. Take his merry old time. Slow and steady wins the race.
And that's where we'll leave this one off. So
the burning in the fire is pretty metal.
Right?
Yeah, that was pretty metal.
If there's one thing I like about Barovia, it's the fact that I can go brutal with imagery.
that was pretty cool. I like that. Well, thank you.
Of course, happy to. I'm glad that you enjoyed it, and that
I liked your voice mod. That was pretty sick.
I was literally, before we got on, I was like toying with like, okay, I need this much reverb, and I need it to sound like a woman, but I need to sound like a deep-chested woman. And like,
it was perfect. You definitely hit the nail.
Sasha helped a little bit. I was like, does this sound like what I want it to sound? I was like, imagine this. And she's like, she was like asking questions like, is this person good or evil? I'm like, neutral. Like, I'm not giving you info. Like, I need it to sound like this vibe.
They could be good, they could be evil.
Like,
okay?
it's not, I'm not giving you details. This isn't your experience.
Is this person good or evil? Both.
So
Well, I really need an answer. Okay, neither.
I need an answer. Maybe.
Yeah. Okay, if you want me to be really specific, could be either one.
Kind of, sort of, to be determined.
Kind of, sort of, to be determined on the other side.
Yes. Oh man.
Oh yeah, but the Huntress is pretty badass.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm very excited for you guys to find out more about these beings.
The beings, the animals,
The
different animals.
Fanes.
I'm not excited about the spider one, but like, well,
That's fair. I'm trying to be careful with that one.
that'll pass. There's just as long as you just don't do any like actual, what do you call it, like spider images on screen or whatever.
Nah, I very much plan to be careful with what I actually show.
Yeah. As long as you're fine with that. The only time I've seen a spider in D&D is I think like one campaign I did was like they had like phase spiders in them or whatever, and he didn't know I was scared of spiders, and so he's like, and then it looks like this. He's just like, and something appears behind you, and it looks like this. I'm like, oh, what is it? And I like click into the thing, and it's a fucking phase spider. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, oh god.
No, I'm trying to be particularly careful with that one because I plan to utilize some, but I'm gonna try and be careful about how and
you can use spider. You can you can describe stuff and stuff.
Yeah, I don't play. That's mostly my plan is use description.
Yeah.
But they're cool.